Just kind of settling into this comfortable seat. You can start to notice what's going on in your mind. You can notice what's going on in your body. You can notice what's going on in your breath. And there may be places in your experience that your attention is being drawn. It might even feel almost distracting. And so if anything like that is happening, I invite you to bring, let's say, 80% of your attention into your body. So bringing your attention into your body, and your mind can be doing whatever your mind is doing. Sometimes as our bodies get still, our minds seem to get more active. And so just give yourself a chance to really bring your attention into your body and coexist with whatever's going on in your mind. This practice of Ashtanga yoga, of the eight-limbed path of yoga, when we're working through this physical practice, it has the goal of helping us to untangle parts of our experience. So the strong physical practice is meant to untangle the knots we carry in our body. And the strength of our breath helps us to untangle our emotional and mental knots. And the focus required, particularly shifting of the gaze, helps us to untangle knots in our attention. So you can gradually make your way into your Ujjayi Pranayama, this whispering sound at the back of your throat. Resting your tongue lightly behind your top two front teeth, slightly lowering your chin. Let's settle into this breath and really extend this breath. So we have the audible sound of Ujjayi Pranayama. And on your next inhalation, inhale for a count of 5. And exhale for a count of 5. And inhale for a count of 5. And exhale for a count of 5. Extending now, inhale for a count of 6. And exhale for a count of 6. Inhale for a count of 6. And exhale for a count of 6. Inhale for a count of 8. And exhale for a count of 8. Inhale for a count of 8. Exhale for a count of 8. Last round, inhale for a count of 10. And exhale for a count of 10. And you can surrender the count of your breath, but keep it as long as you reasonably can. It might be a little bit faster, a little more fluid than our counted pranayama practice. But let's try to keep this breath audible, keep it intense, and keep it longer than you would breathe out of habit. This is the breath that threads our poses together, supports the practice of Ashtanga yoga. And when you feel ready to move, you can make your way up to standing. We'll stand at the top of our mat. Let's come through 3 rounds each of Surya Namaskar A and Surya Namaskar B. So I will mostly verbally cue. I'm currently unable to do the chaturangas and the downward facing dogs with you, so you're on your own for those, but I'll do what I can. We'll begin in Samasthiti, equal standing pose, with the bases of your big toes together, maybe a little wedge between your heels, your arms down by your sides, shoulders drawing back, base of your skull drawing back, and that strong, long, powerful Ujjayi Pranayama. Your next inhalation reaches your arms up overhead. And as you exhale, you can hinge at your hips and fold. Feel free to bend your knees here so that you can allow your pelvis to spill forward. We'll inhale, lift halfway up. With the exhalation, plant your hands and take your feet back. This first time through, let's step back and lower to our bellies. And as you inhale, you'll pick it up into a cobra pose. So elbows can draw back, heart lifts. Hips will stay on the floor as you ground into the tops of your feet. You'll exhale to lower. We'll inhale to hands and knees. And as you exhale, press back, find your downward facing dog. We'll take 5 slow, steady breaths in downward facing dog, a nice long count. And every time we come to downward facing dog, you have the opportunity to fine tune your posture. This practice that we call svadhyaya, self-observation, noticing what your posture feels like, noticing what it looks like, and maybe intelligently, intentionally making small adjustments to fine tune. We've got 1 more breath left here. And at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees and look forward. We'll move feet to hands. You could walk, you could step, or you could hop if you feel ready. We'll take a full forward fold, and then inhale, rise. Come all the way up to standing. Exhale, we return to Samasthiti, arms down by our sides. Go again, inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. You can inhale, halfway lift. Plant your hands, take your feet back. Maybe this time you come to a plank pose. Arms extended with wrists under your shoulders. And you can lower to your Chaturanga Dandasana, shifting forward so that your hips, your elbows, and your shoulders are all the same height. Lovely. You can inhale through to your back bend. It could be cobra. It could be upward facing dog. You'll exhale to downward facing dog and settle into your breath here. As always, taking a moment to check in with the placement of hands, with placement of feet, with alignment of spine, those little fine-tuning movements you can make in this posture. And at the end of your next exhalation, you'll bend your knees and look forward. Move your feet to your hands. Half forward fold on the in-breath, full forward fold on the out-breath. You can inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Exhale, Samasthiti. 1 more round of Surya Namaskar A. Let's inhale and reach up. Exhale and fold. You can inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, take your feet back and make your way through your vinyasa. You can take it to Chaturanga, and upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. 5 slow, steady breaths. And at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees and look forward. Move your feet to your hands. We'll find a half forward fold. Beautiful. Full forward fold. Inhale to rise. And we'll exhale, let arms come down by our sides. I'm kind of giggling because my cat has already photobombed this. There's papers on my desk where the computer is, and she's playing with the papers. So if you hear rustling, that's my big old tortoiseshell cat making a mess of my paperwork. All right, let's come back to Samasthiti. Bases of big toes touching, a little wedge between our heels, making our way down through 3 rounds of Surya Namaskar B. So we'll find Utkatasana, chair pose. You can reach your fingers down, reach them up, and as you exhale, dive forward to Uttanasana. You'll inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, plant your hands and step, or maybe float if you feel ready, back to Chaturanga. We'll lower Chaturanga and upward facing dog on the in-breath. Beautiful. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now with that same exhalation, take your right foot forward and step it between your hands. We'll pivot the left heel down to the mat, and your next in-breath lifts you to Virabhadrasana 1. We anchor the left heel, slide the right thigh forward, big breath in. Exhale, diving for the floor, and take it back through your Vinyasa, Chaturanga, and upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Same exhalation, back to down dog, and then left foot forward, all one breath. We'll inhale, pick it up, Virabhadrasana 1. And your exhalation carries you through to Chaturanga. Reach for the floor, step back and lower. Inhaling, upward dog. Exhaling, downward dog. And now we pause. Steadiness and ease. Sthira Sukham Asana. Sthira is the intensity, the fire, the stability of the posture. Sukha is the ease of the posture. And Sthira Sukham Asana means to find a balance between the intensity and the relaxation. And find down dog in the flow of Surya Namaskar B is such an expression of that principle of yoga. We've got 2 breaths left here. And at the end of your next exhalation, you'll bend your knees, look forward, feet move to your hands. Half forward fold on the in-breath, full forward fold on the out-breath. As you inhale, knees bend and reach up. Utkatasana, chair pose. Exhale, extend your legs, release your arms, Samastitihi. Go again, we'll inhale, bend our knees, reach down, reach up, extending in your chair. Exhale and fold Uttanasana. You'll inhale, lift halfway up. Plant your hands, step or float back through Vinyasa. Headed to Chaturanga. And upward facing dog. Downward facing dog on the exhalation. Same breath brings right foot forward, left heel to the floor. We'll inhale, reach, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale through Vinyasa, reaching for the floor, step back, Chaturanga. The upward facing dog and downward facing dog, same breath. We take a left foot forward, right heel to the floor. Inhale, reach up, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale through Vinyasa, back to Chaturanga. And upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. And settle. This time in your downward facing dog, try bending your knees and bringing your shins parallel to the mat. So shins parallel to the mat, you're reaching your hips way back, pressing the front of your mat away, planting into the bases of your fingers. See if maybe you can activate the outer edge of your shoulder blade more firmly to the outside of your rib cage. Keep that extension, keep that depth in your hip creases, and once more lift your hips, re-extend your legs. Beautiful, that was lovely. We'll take one more breath here. You can bend your knees and look forward. We'll move feet to hands. Half forward fold on the in-breath. Full forward fold on the out-breath. Inhale as your knees bend, hips lower, arms reach, Utkatasana. And we'll exhale, equal standing pose, Samastitihi. Last round, Surya Namaskar B. As you inhale, you can bend your knees. Reach down, reach up, maybe look up, focusing your gaze. We'll exhale and fold. And inhale, halfway lift. You'll exhale, plant your hands, step or float back through Vinyasa, Chaturanga, and upward facing dog. And downward facing dog, right foot steps forward, left heel to the floor. Let's inhale, reach up, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale through the Vinyasa, back to Chaturanga. And upward facing dog. Beautiful, downward facing dog, left foot steps forward, same breath. We'll inhale, reach up. Virabhadrasana 1 and exhale back to Chaturanga. And upward facing dog. And downward facing dog. All right, this time your mission, should you choose to accept it, you always have right of refusal, is to try bending your elbows in your down dog, but keeping elbows and wrists and shoulders all the same distance apart. So see if you can hover your elbows in your down dog. Oh, nice. You'll notice that your shoulders just really stabilized. Keep that stability in your shoulders. Re-extend your arms as you press into the base of your index fingers. Yes. And at the end of your next exhalation, you can bend your knees, look forward, feet move to hands. Find your half forward fold, full forward fold. You'll inhale, pick it up, Utkatasana. Exhale, Samasthiti. All right, stepping our feet now to the width of our hips. Padangusthasana. Padangushtas are our big toes. In Padangusthasana, we try to hook our big toes with index finger and middle finger of each hand. So you can take your hands to your hips. You'll inhale, roll your shoulders back, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge forward, spilling your pelvis forward over the head of your femurs. And we'll try to slide index finger and middle finger between big toe and second toe. Thumbs wrap around to the outside. We'll take one more inhalation here, and that inhalation goes along the front of your spine, drawing your thigh bones up and back, drawing your heart forward. The exhalation draws you into this pose, maybe elbows even bend out to the side. Let your weight shift slightly forward here. So not so much like you feel like you're going to take a nosedive, but certainly bringing your weight into the balls of your feet. Holding here steadily for 3 more slow breaths. So if you remember what it felt like when we were really slowing our breath down, that opening pranayama, we were counting the length of the breath. Go as long as you reasonably can. One more exhalation. When you inhale, you can lift halfway up. You can let go of your Padangushtas, moving into Padahastasana now. So Padas are feet, Hastas are hands. In Padahastasana, your hastas go under your padas. So I can only do one hand here, but you would slide your hands right underneath the sole of your feet, toes right up to the crease of your wrist. We're trying to flatten that whole hand down along the floor. And then again, we'll inhale, get a little length from base of skull to hips. As you exhale, draw yourself into the pose. Your elbows can bend a little bit. And once more, our weight is shifting a little to the ball of the foot. So we get not just a really beautiful stretch for the back body and the hamstrings here, but you may also get a little release in your wrists and hands as your weight shifts forward and you traction your wrists slightly. We've got about 3 more breaths here. You can take one more exhalation. As you inhale, you'll release your hastas from under your padas. We'll exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, stand all the way up. Exhale, Samasthiti, big toes touch. All right, now moving into this little trick of Ashtanga where we turn to face the back of our mat and then face the front, moving side to side. We'll step right foot way back. Right foot steps all the way to the back of your mat, at least a leg length. And then you'll turn your feet. So we're moving into triangle pose, but we want right toes pointing to what was the back of your mat. We want left heel angled towards what was the front of your mat. Our hips are starting to turn to face the long edge, but not so far that the right knee is going to collapse medially. So we want to get the right leg relatively straight. You can micro bend that knee if you need to. We want to press into the base of right big toe, and we lift the pelvis up and over the head of the right femur as your hips slide to the left. Torso reaches to the right. Right hand finds a light touch somewhere on your right leg. If you can reach, you can always slip index finger and middle finger between big toe and second toe and wrap your thumb around. And we'll hold here. So we've got about 4 breaths left in Trikonasana. I invite you here to take your chin slightly towards your chest. And then take the base of your skull back so your ears are in line with your shoulders. And then keep that going on as you turn your gaze to the top hand. That does not feel okay in your neck. You can look straight ahead or down. One more big inhalation. One more complete exhalation. Let's inhale, reach up strongly with the left hand, come all the way up to standing. Pivot your feet the opposite direction. So now left toes face towards what was the front of your mat. Right heel angles towards what was the back of your mat, and we go straight into Trikonasana on the other side. Hips reaching to the right, torso reaching to the left. Left side of the pelvis is lifting up and over the head of the left femur. And maybe you could reach for your left big toe. Don't feel like that's an obligation though. Let's think about coming laterally in this pose more than reaching for the big toe. Nice. Brilliant. All right, so this time, let's take right fingertips to breastbone, elbow points to the ceiling. Yeah, so reach your elbow for the ceiling. Rotate from your rib cage to bring your right shoulder a little more over your left. And then just straighten your right arm, and your right hand should reach straight up to the ceiling now with your shoulder in external rotation. Yes. You can look down for balance. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. All right, let's turn our feet once more to the back. You may want to walk your feet in a little bit closer now. We're heading into Revolves Triangle. So this time we angle left heel back a little bit more. We point right toes straight to the back of the mat. Left hip comes around. You'll hinge forward and see if you can reach your left hand down onto something. It could be the floor, it could be a block, it could be your right foot. It could be the floor on the little toe side of your right foot. And we twist to the right. Maybe right shoulder comes over left. Maybe right arm reaches for the ceiling. Lovely. Check in with your breath on this one. This is an intense twist and a balancing pose and a hamstring stretch. So sometimes in the midst of all of that, the breath gets a little lost. So do your best to breathe as deeply as you can, even in this deep rotation and balance. One more big inhalation. One more complete exhalation. We'll inhale, come up to standing, pivot around to face the front. Same pose, other side. Left toes facing the front, right heel angles back. We'll draw the left hip back. We'll hinge forward and then find the rotation. And that might mean right hand on a block or the floor to the inside of your left foot. Could be on your left foot, could be a little toe side. Eventually left shoulder rotates up and over the right. And maybe the left arm extends. This is one of those poses that really gathers your attention. There's so much going on. If you lose focus, sometimes the whole thing falls apart. So stay with it. Intensity of focus, intensity of breath. We'll take one more exhalation. You can inhale, come all the way up to standing. Turn to face the front of your mat. Step forward, Samasthiti. All right, you can ground down through both feet for a moment and then step your right foot back once more. This time we'll turn to face the long edge of the mat. Moving into Paschimottanasana series. So we want, again, about a leg length between our feet. If your hamstrings are pretty bendy, you might want to move your feet in a little closer. If your hamstrings are a little tighter, you'll take your feet out a little bit wider. Hands can come to your hips. We want our heels slightly angled out if possible. And we'll take an inhalation here to lift our hearts. And with the exhalation, pelvis spills around the heads of the femurs and we fold forward. You can bring your hands to the mat. Inhale to get some length here. And exhale, walk your hands back between your feet. Fingers point the same direction as your toes. And ideally, we have wrist, elbow, and shoulder all the same distance apart. We're starting to work the crown of our head down towards the floor between our feet, if possible. And we're rooting through our feet to lift up through sitting bones. One more exhalation here. You can inhale up to fingertips. Exhale, hands to hips. Inhale, stand all the way up. Extend your arms out. Exhale, hands to hips. Well, inhale, elbows draw back, lift your heart. Exhale, hinge forward. This time, hands stay on your hips. Keep pulling your elbows back towards each other. Maybe you can point them to the ceiling as you draw yourself into Paschimottanasana B. Once more, we have crown of head reaching towards the floor between our feet. Once more, you may feel a little weight coming towards the balls of your feet. We'll take one more exhalation. Inhale. This time you can come up in one big breath. So draw your elbows back, strong in your core. Lift all the way up in one breath. Extend your arms. Prasarita C. This is the one where you interlace fingers behind your back. So you can take your hands behind your back, fingers interlaced, roll your shoulders back as you inhale, exhale, hinge forward, lift your fists off your sacrum, and imagine that someday, some lifetime, crown of your head is on the floor and your arms are extended on the floor behind you. For me, this is a little out of reach with the broken wrist. So I might want to use a little bit of a reach here. I could use my strap to join my hands. Let's take 2 more breaths in Prasarita C. And this one, again, you come up with one big inhalation, reaching through your fists, let that lift you all the way to standing. You can release the interlace of your fingers, extend your arms, hands to your hips. Prasarita D. We'll draw our elbows back, lift our hearts. Exhale, hinge forward. Prasarita D, we hook the big toes. Index finger and middle finger between big toe and second toe. Thumb wraps around the outside. With an inhalation, spine gets longer, base of skull lifts. With the exhalation, we draw ourselves into the pose and elbows can bend. Maybe elbows come right over your wrists. Maybe crown of your head works its way towards the floor. One more big breath here. Inhalation, exhalation. You can release your toes. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, stabilize by pulling your navel to your spine, hands to your hips. Inhale, stand all the way up. And you can step or hop your feet together. And we'll come back to the top of our mats. Stepping the bases of your big toes to touch. Utkatasana, chair pose. This time we hold it. So you're flexing in your ankles, bending your knees, hips reaching back, heart reaching forward and up. Hugging in from inner knees to sitting bones. Maybe you could glance down and see your big toes. We'll keep flexing in the ankles, dropping the thigh bones, hugging belly in, and lengthening from low back up through our fingertips. If it's reasonable, your gaze can look up at your hands. If that does not feel good, look straight ahead. Likewise, if it's reasonable, palms will touch. But if that's not okay, hands can be the width of your shoulders or wider. One more long, deep breath here. When you exhale, part your hands, dive forward to Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Making our way through Vinyasa, you'll inhale, halfway lift. Plant your hands, step or float through Vinyasa. You're back to Chaturanga. An upward facing dog, gorgeous. Downward facing dog, right foot steps forward, left heel pivots and plants. 5 breaths, Virabhadrasana 1. Navel's pulling towards your spine, left heel is anchoring, right thigh slides forward, maybe even parallel to the mat. But don't lose the anchor in your left leg. We'll reach up, and again, we're lengthening from low back all the way up the side of your body, along the outer edge of your shoulder blade to elbow to little finger. You can draw your head back and look up at your thumbs. If you could feel equal weight in both feet, There's a tendency in this one to really lunge into the front leg. Keep that back anchor. We've got 3 breaths left. Gorgeous. Your next inhalation will straighten your right leg. Keep your arms extended. Keep your feet this distance apart. And we'll just pivot right around to face the back of the mat. And you'll come straight into second warrior on the other side. Sliding to your Virabhadrasana 1. Keeping the anchor in your right heel as the left thigh slides forward. As you plant into your left heel, the head of your left femur can drop down any little bit more. One more big inhalation, one more complete exhalation. Take a breath in with your out breath, warrior 2, left knee is bent. So you can kind of scoot your left foot a little forward. I prefer a slightly wider stance for second warrior than I like for first warrior. So I tend to fudge my feet a little bit in this transition. And inch my left foot forward, pull low with my left heel. Belly is turning around to the right, but not so much that it drags your left knee with. Arms will extend, gaze is out over your left middle finger. And as you slide your left thigh forward, equally or even a little more, reach back with your right hand. We'll take one more big inhalation, one more complete exhalation. Leave your arms extended. Inhale, straighten your left leg, turn your feet all the way around to the right, Virabhadrasana 2. Toes point to the front of your mat, left heel angles back. Draw yourself into the pose. Use your hamstrings. You can pull with your right heel. Reach back with your left hand. We're checking into this right knee. Keep legs down. You should be able to see your right big toe. One more big inhalation. As you exhale, hands reach for the floor and you will flow through Vinyasa. Stepping back to Chaturanga and upward facing dog and downward facing dog. All right, moving into our seated postures, primary series. You can jump through if you have that in your practice. I'm definitely not demonstrating that today. You can simply come to kneeling and shift your hips to one side, or you can hop, land your feet just behind your wrists, and sit down. We're headed for Dandasana, staff pose. So we'll extend our legs straight out in front, bases of big toes touching. If you were to look down on the tips of your toes, there's a straight line. There happens not to be in my case. I need to reach through the base of my big toe and draw the little toe edge of my foot back a little. There it is. Plant your hands into whatever it is you're sitting on. If you happen to be on a prop, you want to press your hands in at the height of the prop. If you're on the floor, press into the floor. You want to feel a sense of the chest lifting, the roof of the mouth drawing back, and we'll stay here for 5 breaths. This is a really interesting place and a really effective place to find our bandhas, or those little internal muscular movements that move and contain prana in our bodies. So there's a sense of lifting at the pelvic floor, lifting in the abdomen, lifting in the roof of our mouth. Let's take one more inhalation here. You can reach your arms up overhead. As you exhale, we're headed to Paschimottanasana. So we're hinging forward in the hips. Maybe reaching for your feet, but that's not essential. You can take the backs of your knees or your calves or your ankles, the outer edges of your feet. If you have a strap, you can loop a strap. Make contact though, and then we'll again get length in the front of the spine. So lifting the base of your skull, get long, get tall, extending forward out of your hip creases. Exhale, full forward fold. If it's reasonable in your back, your forehead can melt down towards your shins. Elbows can drag gently out to the side, and we'll take 5 breaths here. If it feels okay, you're allowing your neck to lengthen so that everything from the soles of your feet all the way up your back body to the crown of your head can release. It's actually the name of this pose. Paschimottanasana means stretching the west, because you would traditionally face east to do this practice. And so when you're in this forward fold, the whole western side of your body is lengthening. We can take one more exhalation here. And as you inhale, you'll sit tall. Bring your hands behind you now, just a few inches behind your sit bones, under your shoulders. You can press into your hands, lift your heart, and maybe this is your pose. This is going to be my variation of this pose tonight. You could also try bending your knees and lifting your hips up and off the floor for a tabletop. Or you could press into your hands, lift your hips, and roll the soles of your feet all the way down to the mat for Paschimottanasana, the upward plank pose. And this one, Paschimottanasana, stretching the west. This is Paschimottanasana, stretching the east, stretching the front side of your body out. Yeah, 2 more breaths and you can do it. That looks amazing. Ground your feet, sides of your pelvis lift up, shoulders roll back, heart is buoyant. You can exhale and lower. And if you like, you could take a vinyasa here. So if you want to, you can cross your ankles, rock forward, plant your hands, shoot your feet back through chaturanga and up dog and down dog. Nice work. Coming back to sitting, Janu Shirshasana. So we'll extend our legs. And then you can bend your right knee. Take the sole of your right foot to your left upper inner thigh. Right knee is pointing out to the side, left toes are pointing to the ceiling. You can take your hands behind you here, rock a little forward, turn towards your left leg. So we're turning belly and ribs and chest and shoulders as your right knee is pressing back for some leverage, and we'll fold forward. Just like Paschimottanasana, you might take a hold of your knee or your ankle. You can loop the strap. Maybe you can reach the foot. If you like, you can reach beyond your foot. Turn your right palm out and try to loop your left thumb and index finger around your right wrist for maximum extension. Let's take 2 more slow, deep breaths here. And you can inhale, make your way upright, switch legs. You'll extend your right leg, bend your left, sole of left foot to right upper inner thigh. This knee's drawing down and back, right toes pointing towards the ceiling, so that might require a little extra internal rotation in the right thigh. You're going to rock your sitting bones back, turn squarely towards your right leg, and as you press back with your left knee, hinge forward. Maybe you get the back of your knee or your ankle or your foot. You could reach beyond, and this time you would encircle left wrist with right thumb and middle finger. The name of this pose, Janu Shirshasana. Janu is knee, Shirsha is head. So we often think of it as head to knee pose. But really, when you get into it, when you start to get a little bit deeper, it becomes chin to shin pose. So we extend our spine beyond the knee. You can lift your gaze, look at your toes, and bow forward. You'll inhale, make your way back upright. You have the opportunity once more to come through Vinyasa if you want to keep the heat going. You could also just cross your ankles and hug your knees into your chest for a little core work. If you want to hop back, flow through upward dog and downward dog. Hop or step forward, we'll return to sitting. Fantastic. All right, Marichyasana C. So we'll extend left leg out straight, step right foot in just to the outside of your right sitting bone. So something like this. We've got the foot about a hand's breadth from inner thigh. I'll actually turn this way so I'll be twisting towards the camera. So we'll start here, sitting tall, with an exhalation, twist towards your right leg. So you can circle your right hand back behind you, just hug your left knee. If you feel like you've got the space to work with, left elbow could come to the outside of right knee. I don't have a lot of leverage with my sore wrist, so I'm going to take it easy in this one. But if you'd like, yeah, you can move into that direction. You can even point your fingers to the ceiling, bending your left elbow to 90 degrees. And you can try taking this spiral all the way up to the crown of your head by looking back over your right shoulder. This is a pretty deep twist. You can probably feel that little bit of compression in your belly. So do your best to breathe as deeply as you can to get the full benefit, the internal massage of this twist. We can inhale, unwind the twist on this side. You'll extend your right leg, bend your left. Sole of left foot is about a hand's breadth from right upper inner thigh. We'll hug the left knee, sit tall, and then begin to twist left. Left hand can come behind you for a little leverage. If you've got the space to work with, right arm can come to the outside of left knee. Eventually, you might even turn your head and look back over your left shoulder. All right, let's inhale, unbind, unwind. Once more, if you feel like it, you can flow through your vinyasas. You can cross your ankles, rock forward, plant your hands, shoot your feet back, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Taking feet forward once more, back to sitting. Navasana, we'll take the soles of our feet to the mat. Hook our fingers behind our knees. Find yourself perched on the fronts of your sit bones. So I like to hang on to my knees, either shins or the backs of my knees. Draw myself just a little more upright. Take my ears back. Take my head back. Take my shoulders back. Float my feet up and maybe legs straighten. Maybe arms come parallel to legs. Let's try for 3 more breaths here. And you can cross your ankles, bend your knees, hug your knees into your chest. 2 options here. You might just balance on your sit bones and hug your knees, or you might try putting your hands on the floor, pressing down and trying to lift your seat, getting that little lift off. That's it. Nice job. Back to Navasana. Good thing we're doing a sampler of Ashtanga because we're only going to do this 3 times instead of 5. Two more breaths in Navasana. And cross your ankles. Try to cross them the other way this time. Hug your knees in. Maybe just balance. Maybe hands plant and you lift. Gorgeous. Last round, Navasana. So this time we'll bend our knees, reach down, try to grab our feet. And pull your heels in right up towards your groins. Baddha Konasana. Knees will drop out to the side. And I like to adjust this one by taking my hands behind me, lifting my seat so that I can tip sitting bones back and maybe even press a little bit more towards my feet. And then sit back down. So check in with where your knees are in relation to the top of your pelvis. Also check in with where the top of your sacrum is in relation to your tailbone. So if you're rocked back like this, or if your knees are up high, you will probably be more comfortable in this pose if you give yourself a little bit of a lift under your seat. You could possibly go somewhere like this. The advantage of this is you get a really nice stretch and rotation in your hips. Not necessary, but if it feels good, you could go here. We'll take a hold of our feet. Inhale, sit tall. Exhale, hinge forward. And then maybe think about putting your heart in the cradle formed by your feet, putting your forehead towards your toes. As we're moving into our more introspective and quiet postures, our finishing sequence, let's see if we can slow our breath down just a little bit more. Let's try to be in this position for 2 more slowest, deepest breaths you've done yet. We'll inhale, pick ourselves up out of this posture, playing a little bit now, upward Paschimottanasana. So it's kind of like a cross between seated forward fold and Navasana. Basically, we're in a seated forward fold, but balancing on our sit bones. So you're going to reach down, hook your big toes with the yogi grip, thumbs and index fingers, extend your legs, and hold here. One more breath. You can exhale, bend your knees, cross your ankles, flow through one last vinyasa if you like it. You can plant your hands, step or float your feet back to chaturanga. Upward facing dog on the in-breath. Downward facing dog on the out-breath. Step or hop your feet back, ankles crossed, sit down behind your wrists. And let's prepare for lotus pose. So we'll start in Agni Stambhasana, not technically part of the Ashtanga series, but a really nice warm-up for your hips. So you can take your right shin parallel to the front edge of your mat. We'll take the left ankle and cross it just above, just to the outside of right knee. Come over here. There you go. Now you can see. The dog's cuter than me, but probably is good to see the position of my legs. All right, so we have our shins stacked down, and this might be enough. This is actually feeling pretty strong to me today. If this knee is floating, is uncomfortable, you could give it a little prop. So something like that. Likewise with the bottom one. If it's floating and uncomfortable, it can get a little support. If this is feeling pretty good and you want to go deeper, you can press your fingers into the floor behind you and rock forward. You can place your hands on the top shin and rock forward. You can even reach past your shins, plant your hands, and pull yourself into the pose. Let's take one more slow, deep breath here. When you inhale next, you can walk your way upright, and we'll just change the stack of our legs. Taking left shin onto the bottom, right ankle just above, just to the outside of left knee, and we can work our way into the pose the same way we did last time. Maybe pressing in, stacking support under our knees if we need it. This rotation is kind of using our shins as a lever. So give your knees the love they need. You could walk forward this way. You could take hands to your top shin. You can even reach beyond your shin and bow forward, pulling even slightly with your arms. Two more slow, deep breaths here. When you inhale, you can walk your way upright. It can feel really good after that one to uncross your legs, just extend them out, shake them out, rock your toes side to side. And we'll finish just before Shavasana in a comfortable seat. So that might just be coming back to Siddhasana with one foot in front of the other. It could be Sukhasana, ankles crossed. It could be Ardha Padmasana, one foot in lotus, the other supporting the knee. If you are comfortable in full lotus, slide it into full lotus. And if we're being all traditional and stuff, which we're not, but if we were, you would take your right foot into your lotus first, and then slide your left foot in on top. I kind of prefer to switch sides each time I do it, just so I maintain a little bit of balance, but that's my preference. So coming into your seat, we'll take backs of our hands to our knees, and then you'll touch thumbs and index fingers together and extend the other 3 fingers. Rolling your shoulders back, taking the base of your skull back, chin releases and is attracted to this hollow at the top of the breastbone. We'll take a few moments noticing this posture and noticing the energetics of this posture. We've got the lift at the base of the pelvis and in the low belly. That's Mula Bandha, the root lock. And it's intended to wake up our latent energy so we can use it. We have the lifting in the abdomen up into the rib cage. This is Uddiyana Bandha, and its purpose is transformation. It uses and transforms and processes the energy. And then we have Jalandhara Bandha. That's the lift at the roof of the mouth, lift at the base of the skull, and this softening down of chin towards chest. So there's almost a swirling sensation at your throat. Jalandhara Bandha is the cap. It's what keeps your attention and energy from flying around, keeps it useful, keeps it circulating. So we have Mula Bandha waking things up. We have Jalandhara Bandha capping it. We have Uddiyana Bandha processing it. And we'll be here for 5 more slow, deep, long Ujjayi breaths, longest ones yet. And at the end of your next breath, you can release the mudra in your hands. You can unfold your legs out of the lotus, and we will make our way down to Shavasana. So laying down on your back and as comfortable as you can. Feet above the width of your mat, arms can release out to your sides. It might be nice to kind of tuck your shoulder blades under. It might be nice to shake your hips side to side. So we'll find a comfortable position. And then tighten everything. Hug your belly in, flex your feet, make fists, lift your head, pull a face. And then exhale and let it all go. Wherever you land, that's your Shavasana. Completely surrendering all of the work of this practice now. No more need to control your breath. No more effort and intensity in your body. Simply trusting that this shape is the shape that will nourish you, and receiving whatever the fruits of this practice will be. Once more, you can allow your attention to come into your body. Noticing the sensations that you feel, notice where your attention is drawn. And maybe you even find a place that's so interesting or so pleasurable that all of your attention becomes focused in one part of your experience. It could be a sensation. It could be a body part. It could be something in your breath. It could be an image or a mantra. Allowing your attention to become completely absorbed, so much so that you're drawn away from everything else. And then finally, you can allow the object of your concentration to dissolve too. And you can simply be quiet and still. And now once more, allowing your attention to expand, first to all of the sensations you feel throughout your body. And then feeling the contact that the back of your body has with the floor. Then letting your attention expand a little more and sensing the space around you. And noticing the input of your senses, maybe the soft light filtering through your eyelids, the sensation of the air on your skin, any sounds that you might hear. And when the time feels right to you, invite your breath to deepen once more. Deep inhalations through your nose, complete exhalations, letting go of everything we've loosened and burned up with this practice. And when the time feels right, bring back some movement. Fingers and toes can wiggle, hands and feet can move, arms and legs can reawaken. You'll gradually come back to life. Little by little, the movements grow. And eventually they'll carry you over to one side. You can rest on your side for a moment or two. And when you're ready to come up to sitting, use the strength of your arms. Help yourself up. Settle into a comfortable seat. We'll take one more moment to scan through our experience and notice what's here now. Maybe some things have changed, maybe some things are the same. Once more, just being with whatever your experience is. Then you can turn your palms out to the side, and as you inhale, slowly reach your arms up overhead. You can imagine that you're gathering up all of the vitality that surrounds you, bringing all of that prana into your arms. Palms will come together. You'll exhale, hands down the midline of your body to your heart, Anjali Mudra. And we'll close with the sound of Om. You are welcome to join me. You are welcome to sit and listen if that feels better to you. But we'll inhale, oh lovely. We'll inhale together and begin. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for practicing. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Namaste.
Thank you, Kim. That was lovely.